Sup everyone. Quite the late stream today. I was out, I was grabbing food, and there's traffic. You guys know how it is. Sorry for being late, but in exchange, I have a pretty meaningful conversation to have with you guys today. It isn't necessarily a new issue. It's been a problem with Genshin for a while now, and this affects you, it affects me, it affects free-to-plays, it affects whales, everybody. This is a problem that just can't be solved overnight in one patch. I mean, maybe it could, but EroticWalruss would have to introduce some really broken ass character to solve this problem, alright? Sup? It's your boy Walrus. We're chilling here in Mondstadt on this new team that I've been playing for a bit now. It's fun. It's exciting. Yep, of course I'm old to the party just like I am in real life. So, of course, this is a comp that apparently everyone knew since 3.0, and I am just discovering it now in 3.3, okay? But I take pride in knowing that I 100% just messed around for the entirety of all these patches to come across this. Like, once you discover it, you start thinking, like, how did I not think about this earlier? Like, how did I not think about this earlier? But I digress. I don't think this comp really is worth playing unless you have Nahida. I mean, it's playable, but it's not worth playing. Like, every time I say stuff like this, people will be like, "What do you mean, Walrus? I've been playing this team with my Kole since 3.0. This." It's like, yeah, I know it's playable, but like, are you really saying your C0 Raiden playing with Kole is better than your C0 Raiden playing with, you know, other 4-stars that are in, you know what I mean? Of course, I did say in the video that this comp isn't better than Raiden National. The synergy just isn't as seamless. It's good, does good damage, it's consistent, very easy to use, free to play friendly, all the do's and don'ts, but it still doesn't trump her national team in terms of how well all the pieces fit together. But it's a good team. It's fun. And I had a lot of fun trying to figure it out. Unfortunate that I was 3 patches late in sharing this with you guys. I'm sorry. I don't have access to the leak servers and stuff like that. Not the leak servers, the testing servers and stuff. And because I don't work with anybody in like theory and stuff like that, so of course I'm gonna be late when it comes to this, right? Those guys are just gigabrained, 500 IQ gods when it comes to coming up with this new stuff. Anyways, the problem that we have to talk about, okay? So this is something that I've talked about in, well, kind of in detail almost a year ago, because like I said, this is not a new problem. And what this problem is that we are severely, how should I put this? We are running out of slots in team compositions. Now, you guys might be wondering, like, what is this about, Walrus? Like, so you're telling us the big problem you're talking about is we don't have enough slots? Like, how is that a problem? Well, it's not really a problem in some compositions, but in other compositions, it technically cripples your DPS ceiling. It severely cripples it, because right now, there are characters that for some reason, when they are in their dedicated DPS modes, they don't have resistance to interruption. So what ends up happening is characters like Zhongli, Diona, these strong Layla, they are supposedly supposed to solve that issue for you. Okay? Now listen up. This is a big freaking deal. Well, yes, having a shield on your team is great. It helps with interruptions and stuff like that, staggering and stuff like that. And in the case of Zhongli, it also provides a nice AoE debuff for your enemies. But for the vast majority of shielders, it's just there to mitigate damage. Now, the problem with this is Genshin Impact is not a survival game. Okay? Genshin is not a survival game. In almost all instances of Genshin's gameplay and whatnot, your goal is to kill your enemies as fast as you humanly can. As fast as your team will allow you. As fast as your wallet can handle. Right? As fast You get my point. So having a slot that's reserved on your team that's dedicated to protect your character from taking damage is, by essence, counterintuitive to Genshin's philosophies when it comes to how you optimize your characters. Now, I know exactly what you guys are saying, like, but Walrus, the whole point of shielding myself is so my hyper carry or whoever it is that's being shielded can deal the damage, and they have enough damage to clear the content. Well, that is true. Have you guys ever stopped to think that you required 2 characters to make 1 character function like how they're supposed to? Right? Now this gets into my point, which is slots. The slots. Shielders are taking up a slot right now in the game that is, in my opinion, quite wasteful when it comes to support DPS applicators. Similarly goes for what you call it, for the healer position. Oftentimes nowadays healers has to either be a healer buffer, a healer shielder, or what's the other one? Healer applicator. These 3 types are like very valuable because just bringing healing is not enough. I repeat, simply bringing healing to the table is not enough to justify a character's position in a team. Have you guys realized that? And shielders, as Wind Minion is saying, shielder is a non-negotiable slot. That is absolutely correct, because right now some characters simply cannot be played optimally. And when I say optimally, I mean like they are so difficult to make work if you like, unless you're just like a god, unless you're some sort of gaming god who is pixel perfect with all the dodges, stamina all your stamina utilization, everything. You're just like, and you memorize all the enemies' attack patterns. You know exactly when they spawn, from what angle they're gonna attack. Like, you know everything, so you never have to take damage, and at the same time you never have to dodge unnecessarily to lose DPS. Because remember, I keep telling you guys, people don't understand this. When you're doing DPS, right, you're hitting, and suddenly a big attack comes. Oh my god, a big attack comes. Oh, I have to dodge. That act of dodging, sure, you didn't take damage, right? You didn't take damage, but the fact that you didn't continue your attack string and you chose to dodge, that right there just now, that's a DPS loss. So you lost DPS even though you didn't get hit, and yes, you didn't get and you did, like, nothing happened to you. You didn't take damage. Nothing happened. The fact that you had to stop attacking and do a dodge and then start attacking again, and in some instances you might have to dodge again, and then start attacking. Those 3 instances of dodging, you just lost DPS, just like that. So the fact that you have to bring a shielder just so you don't have to dodge. So, and especially for characters like Raiden Shogun, let's say she uses her burst. You're attacking, oh, I have to dodge, and then you continue attacking. For example, right, I know Raiden doesn't have this issue because she has interruption resistance like Ito. But characters like Scaramouche, characters like who else? Like Hu Tao, these characters, they don't have interruption resistances. So they will easily get smacked out. So Scaramouche in his elemental skill, Hu Tao in her elemental skill, and I believe Sino has this issue too. Does Sino have interruption resistance? I think he does, but it wasn't as good as Raiden's. Like, you'll still get smacked around, like, with certain attacks. So it's like, it's very annoying. So a lot of the times people think, oh, I bring a shielder to mitigate damage. No. The vast majority of people who bring shielders is for the interruption resistance. It's for the interruption resistance. The shielding is secondary. The damage mitigation, to me, is secondary. I can deal with damage mitigation. There are characters in the game nowadays that actually is good with damage mitigation, but anti-interruption, it's something you don't get unless you bring a shielder. Because here's another problem for you guys to consider. Oh yeah, characters like Yoimiya. I completely forgot about Yoimiya. For example, look at this, chat. This is another problem. You guys might think like, oh, so what? Just dodge. Okay, just dodge. Just dodge. Look at Yoimiya's last hit. Look at look at how it scales up. Compare her first hit to her last hit. Just look at that. It's like it's like a 60% difference. It's a 60% difference in damage. So you're telling me, and look at this, when you dodge, you restart your attack string. And Yoimiya has a 5 hit attack string. So people's like, oh, just dodge, like just big brain, just dodge it. Like easy, right? Well, you basically, if you dodge, then you restart their attack string. So in the case of Yoimiya, it's like in her infusion, how many times are you going to actually reach this final number? These last 2, which are very important. It's like, yeah, just dodge, but then you lose out on like 30% of her kit, of her damage, of her scaling. Like you can't, it doesn't work. You can't. The problem persists. It's still there. You can't get rid of it. So that's why characters like shielders are so damn important in the game. And to add to this problem, you know it's not going away. Why? Because Horrorverse just released Layla. They just released Layla, right? So you know this problem isn't going away. Shielders will be an important piece of the Genshin thinking of the word, of the meta in Genshin. I guess just call it the meta. Lelouch Lamper says that is a problem of Yoimiya, not an advantage of Shield. I would either not have a problematic DPS than spend a slot to fix a problematic DPS. No, but you see, there's a lot of DPS characters like that, and it would be so much. Would it not be better in the situation, for example, like a Hu Tao team? Imagine if Hu Tao didn't need a shield and you can bring Viridescent instead. Do you know how busted that would be for a Hu Tao team? Like this team. Imagine if you can bring, instead of a shielder here, you can bring a Viridescent. Imagine if Hu Tao didn't have this problem of getting slapped around. Right? Same with Yoimiya. Right? Same with Yoimiya. There are some other teams that also have, like Scaramouche as well. I don't like bringing Zhongli just because it's like, it feels like such a waste of a slot, but he needs it. He needs the shield. Some people would like, bring Layla. Yeah, like bring Layla. You can build up Layla and bring Layla instead. That works. So it's like, yeah, you can build the new units, but Layla, in my opinion, funnels a lot more back into Scaramouche, because then Layla doesn't really bring much DPS. I mean, neither does Zhongli, but Zhongli actually brings a decent amount of CC apart from his AoE shred. Zhongli's shield shred applies to Yelan's DPS as well. You guys, like, I mean, whoever you run here, you can run Yelan, you can run Xingqiu, whoever the hell you want to run. If you run any sort of DPS in this form, Zhongli's shield will have very, albeit very minuscule additions. Zhongli is a great shielder because he has offense in his kit. But a lot of the times you see a problem here that we have with Zhongli is that his pillars are not very welcomed in a lot of reaction teams. A lot of reaction teams don't like Zhongli's pillar because Zhongli's pillar can steal the... like, it can remove the applied element. So it's incredibly annoying. Now, chat, I propose a situation here, all right? I propose a solution. And this is actually a continuation from our discussion last stream. I have a proposed solution. Fix Crystallize. Fix Crystallize, and this all becomes a non-issue. But if you fix Crystallize, suddenly, in my opinion, I feel like shielders, geo characters might become too broken. Now, that depends on what they do with Crystallize. Because right now, I mean, Zhongli is our best shielder. That's like, you know, that's undisputed. He's the best shielder. But Zhongli right now lacks offensive synergies. Right? Zhongli right now lacks offensive synergies. So, and his crystallize is actually a negative. It's a negative in most cases. I mean, in almost all cases. It's either negative or it's like negligible. But they could make crystallize more meta. Like they could find a way to incorporate crystallize into a more semi-offensive reaction. I don't know how they would do that, but I think it's necessary if they want to go forward pushing certain shielders. Technical slot is not the problem. Make resistance to interruption mainstay for any sustained DPS or her. It is a Hoyo kit negligence issue. Well, no, I don't think it's negligence. I think they do it on purpose. Look at Layla, right? Look at the release of Layla. Look at the release of this character, right? Her whole purpose is to funnel more into this whole shielding meta. So now, if you look at Layla, you guys should know that Scaramouche's lack of resistance isn't. Now you guys should know Scaramouche's lack of resistance isn't a negligence by HoYoverse. It's a funnel for people to pull for characters like Layla, Zhongli, and stuff. His lack of self CC is a way to funnel people into Faruzan. Everything that's lacking from this character is because HoYoverse needs you to pull other characters. And that's why you know this whole shielding thing isn't going away. I know it's very copium to say, oh, they're going to fix it. They're not going to fix it because it's what makes the money. Right? It's designed in a way where these characters needs these other characters to function. Characters like Raiden Shogun, you know, their strength lies in a cult. Like, imagine you take one small thing away from Raiden. Imagine if you take away her additional resistance to interruption from her burst. Suddenly she becomes a very annoying character to play on field, right? Or you take away her ability to nowadays, if you take away her ability to apply electro damage from her E off field. Let's say if her E is just there to give her stacks and she doesn't do any damage with it, or she doesn't apply electro to it. Instead of applying electro, it's, let's say it's just like a physical strike, right? It's a physical attack strike. That takes away from a lot. Like a lot of the times we don't realize how perfect a character is until if you start taking away small pieces away from their kit and you're like, oh, this character suddenly just falls apart. Raiden is like a perfectly designed character, and you know HoYoverse went like, okay, what can we do to make this character better? What can we do to make this character better, feel better, sell better, better to promote? Then they made sure she's like damn near flawless. Then you take a character like Scaramouche, and then the question HoYoverse asked for Scaramouche was different. How can we make this character more reliant on other characters? How can we make this character feel less good to play? Okay, and then they took all these pieces away from him. Be like, now let's put these things in another character so we can sell it to them. Right? That's basically what they did with Scaramouche. That's a difference in thought process between characters like Scaramouche and characters like Raiden Shogun. On one side, this character, they made sure to fill and plug all the weaknesses. And on the other side, they made sure to find all the weaknesses so they can take it out from their kit and slot it into other characters for us to to pull. And that's the thing with characters like Zhongli and Shielders. This is a problem in Genshin that, like Techie says, like, you know, even if we have extra slots, they'll just find more ways for us to yearn for more slots. Nowadays, you almost need to pull the characters that they release if you want to have an optimized playstyle, or pull for cons. Or just pull for cons and stat boost your character through weapon refinements. So let's say if you're being stubborn, you just don't want to pull for Layla, and you don't want to play with a shielder, and you just want to funnel more damage, more. Then your only option is to hyper invest into Wanderer. Get like R3, get C2 R3. And then you can probably melt everything without needing a shielder. right? And C6 throttle design, you can probably just kill everything without a shielder. Because at that point, your DPS output is so high to the point where you like, yeah, of course, you don't need a shielder. That's the alternative solution, which only exists for whales and free to plays who's been saving for like over a year at this point. Okay, let's see. The only way to fix this issue is to fix the main issue, which they never will do, or give us more primos to roll more often. Yeah, neither of which they will do, right? Technivirus says, Walrus, so why did they give it to most DPS units, but not Skara and Yoimiya? Okay, here's my answer, Techie, to that question, is because once in a while, you need to let the players win. Does that make sense? Because once in a while, you absolutely must give the players a W. You just have to. Like, it's an orchestrated W, if that makes sense. If you want your players to continue to support you, once in a while, you absolutely must let them win. You must make them feel like they got value out of something. Because if you don't, you're just gonna strangle your players. Like you're gonna suck the life out of them. You're gonna suck the joy out of this whole gambling system. It's all orchestrated. Basically like a casino. That's how it has to be, because if you don't let your players win every once in a while, there are characters that are designed just better, that have less problems, easier to play, more universal, higher DPS ceiling, better vertical scaling, just everything is better. More free to play accessibility in terms of weapons. And artifacts are multi-purposeful. Like the characters, oh wow, it just so happens the freaking artifact set that Raiden Shogun needs, 6-7 other characters also need. You know, it's like, hey, is that a coincidence? Right? And look at, I guarantee you, look at Nahida's domain. It's the same thing. There's gonna be so many characters that comes out that's gonna need that artifact domain. Like you're just gonna keep farming and now your Nahida is just continuously getting stronger and stronger and stronger, getting better and better and better. She synergizes so well with all the new synergies as well as the old stuff that it's almost a no-brainer. It's like a huge W for anybody who's committed to this character. Huge W. Free to play weapons, it works. Pay to win weapons, it works. Everything works. Great vertical scaling, like very good vertical scaling. Good DPS ceiling. Like, what's not to like about that? That's the huge W. Once in a while, you just have to give it to your players. Raiden Shogun is the same, right? Oftentimes, Archon is very easy to see. Oh, Archon's huge W. But there are like non-Archon characters that are walking Ws, like walking wins if you invested into them, right? One of them is Yelan. I know people is very sick of hearing me talking about Yelan, but she is a walking W amongst like Genshin characters that are like non-Archons, right? Another one people would say is Kazuha, right? Walking W. This man is just like, you invest into him, C0 free-to-play weapon, walking W. You can't lose. Like Hu Tao, walking W. These characters are just free. They're freebies. Like you can't really go wrong with them. Nowadays, I would even say Tignari is like a walking W. This man can work with like a bunch of 4 stars. He doesn't have to have Nahida, but if you have Nahida, even better. Some of these characters are just good. Like they're well designed. They have very little downsides to their kits, and they fit into their niches very, very well. Some would say Ayaka is a walking W as well. Walking L 5 stars, okay? Some of the walking L 5 stars, if you were to pull them, I mean, there aren't that many like huge L's. If you are willing to invest, you can do fine with them. But some of the bad. Oh, okay. I think Scaramouche is kind of an L. If you invested into Scaramouche, I think Scaramouche and Sino are actually very similar to each other. I wouldn't say they're like huge L's, but like if you invested into these characters, you're gonna have to go pretty hard. Like you're gonna have to really invest into these characters. And a lot of people's like, oh, that's not an L. An L is like a character that doesn't work. Well, then no one is an L. But comparatively to characters like Kazuha, to Yelan, to all these characters require much more to make work. And even when they work, they're not as essential, if that makes sense. Yai Miko used to be an L as well. So this is the thing, right? Characters can be L's until they're not. Characters can be L's until they're not L's anymore, until they become a huge W. So it's like, these characters work if you're willing to invest into them. Otherwise, they can feel very difficult to pilot. And back to the point with the shielders, right? The reason why Wanderer cannot be as good as characters like Raiden, first of all, not an Archon, and cannot be as good as characters like Hu Tao, is because you can't have everybody be like Hu Tao. You can't have that. You just can't. And Scaramouche, in a very interesting way, runs certain variations of his comp similar to Hu Tao. Yeah, Wanderer really can't. Wanderer, even at C6, I don't think can rival Hu Tao. Like I think him at C6 R5 is similar to Hu Tao at like C1 R1. Similar. I think maybe he's a bit better with a C6 Faruzan as well. That's what we're talking about. Like if you're running Wanderer at C6 R5, like with crazy artifacts, like I think his DPS then can rival like a C1 R1 Hu Tao. That's what's so weird about this character. But the difference is what you get is like he's much more freestyle. He has a much more, like, he deals better AoE damage. Like if you have more than I think 2 enemies, yeah, Wanderer does more then. Especially with the C6 Faruzan, Wanderer will scale up much better. But if we're talking about single target, yeah, his C6 like R5 is the same as a Hu Tao. Like even a C0 Hu Tao single target probably is better than this guy. Now we're talking C6 Wanderer, C6 Faruzan. So it's just like, yes, I know the design philosophies for these characters are different. Wanderer is designed to go a different direction. But what I'm saying is, these characters are highly specialized, and at the same time, they don't have interruptions. I mean, they don't have interruption resistance in their kit, meaning that they're essentially forced to bring a shielder. Same for Hu Tao. Hu Tao has to bring a shielder. If you don't bring a shielder for Hu Tao, it puts an immense amount of stress on your play. You have to play damn near perfectly. Like, you probably have to be able to calculate your burst down to, like, give or take 3 to 5 seconds if you want to, like, because then Hu Tao's burst becomes a very, very, very important iframe. If you don't have a shielder on your team, Hu Tao's burst is like, you need to be utilizing that thing as like as like your personal pocket Jesus, if you know what I mean. Like, using that skill to dodge very important enemy abilities, and once you use that skill, you have to be able to rotate yourself properly to finish the enemy before like another lethal hit comes, unless you can get your energy back somehow, right? Also, switching to other characters using their burst becomes very important as well, because let's say your Hu Tao's out of the iframe, then you have to switch. Like, it's just mind-boggling how well you have to play, unless you're okay with just resetting chambers for like forever. Just keep resetting whenever you make a mistake and resetting. Zhongli shield can mitigate that. It's a similar case with Wanderer, right? Both of these characters have a similar problem. Wanderers, once you get his weapon, and if you are able to get constellations on it, adding that extra attack speed is invaluable. Very important to add that additional attack speed. But for the free-to-plays, you don't have access to that. You just can't, right? It's quite the niche weapon. Yeah, another thing about Hu Tao is her weapon is pretty universal. Like, if you have multiple copies of it, sure, it's nice as a stat stick, but that weapon can be slotted into other characters as well, so you can just use it for other characters if you don't want to use it for Hu Tao. Or if you're not running Hu Tao currently, like, that weapon has value. It's very difficult to justify pulling for Wanderer's Bell. It's difficult to say do it. because it's not as universal as a weapon. I don't know. I think in many ways, if they gave a little more to Scaramouche from Hu Tao's kit, like just like rebalance it, these characters can be very equal to each other. But no, it's just Hu Tao seems to have most of the dub in this situation in this direct comparison. And Scaramouche, yeah. And again, Hu Tao's damage comes from reactions. Scaramouche's damage comes from Faruzan. Which is so weird to say. I don't know how much exactly Faruzan is helping. I would say like almost like once she is C6, I would say like 50% of the reason he works is because of Faruzan. Like once Faruzan becomes C6, I am willing to say around 50%. Like you have to give at least half, maybe more of the credit to Faruzan than Scaramouche. Like at that point, like what is the point of Scaramouche? That's why I say it's so damn hard to say this is the 5-star character when at C6 this character not only provides you the CC, the debuff to the enemies, the buff to you, and also off-field anemo damage. Like what are you doing, Scaramouche? Like you are quite literally just a vessel. You are just a vessel to utilize Faruzan's kit. And on top of that, you have to bring a shielder. So, I think this is a problem. I think this is a problem that HoYoverse has no plans of resolving. HoYoverse doesn't see this as a problem because the fact that shielders are so necessary in the game is a dub for HoYoverse. Okay, like shielders at this point are just like walking ATM machine for HoYoverse. Players need it. Players need it. And also, I think it's a way to keep Zhongli relevant. Being the second Archon released in this game, you probably don't ever want Zhongli to face the same problem as Venti. I don't know how was Venti's last sales banner, but I'm willing to say it probably wasn't as good as some of the other Archon sales. Because Venti is just not as valuable as a character nowadays. Right? So what's to say that HoYoverse is not desperately trying to keep Zhongli still relevant in future releases? Technical says not every DPS needs a shielder, just Yoimiya. I know. A lot of DPS runs Viridescence. But the problem is there are still continuously DPSs that are getting released that require shielders. I used to like, trust me, Techie, I used to think along the same lines as you. Maybe HoYoverse is screwed up. Maybe HoYoverse just forgot to add that line, right? Imagine if Yoimiya had that line. Imagine if Scaramouche has that line. Just that one extra line. When in elemental skill, character gets additional resistance to interruption. Imagine if they just added that one sentence or phrase. This character suddenly becomes a lot more flexible. Your 4th slot is free. It becomes free. You don't need to bring a shooter. You can bring a healer buffer. But right now, if you bring Bennett, your Scaramouche better be able to kill the enemies hella fast. Right? You better be able to kill the enemies hella fast. You can only justify not bringing a shooter if you're not getting hit. And the only way you're not getting hit is if, like I say, you're like just really good at the game, like incredibly good, very knowledgeable, and you have impeccable timing, positioning. Right? It requires you. It puts all the burden back to you to either be a god gamer or your Scaramouche is hyper invested to the point where you can kill all enemies in one rotation. Pretty much one rotation. Like it's okay if you get it hit once or twice, but if you're getting hit, if you have to use 3 rotations of your elemental skill to clear the chamber, and at the same time you don't have a shielder and you're constantly getting hit, like bro, like I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be having a good time. I'm just constantly be spamming my right mouse key to like to recover from getting hit. And the thing is, Scaramouche gets hit by everything, man. Like this guy, if the wind blows on him the wrong way, he's suddenly like, oh no, I got hit. Like everything interrupts him. Even small hilichurl arrows are interrupting him. Like you get the full the full range of motions. Yeah, like Nahida, even in her elemental skill, doesn't get interrupted. Where's Nahida? Like even Nahida, when she's doing this, she's fully anti-resistant. Anti-resistant. I mean, resistant to interruptions. Like if they wanted to be annoying, they could have easily made Nahida not resistant to interruption in this mode, and put a lot more stress on when you're using that skill. So you gotta like literally select everything that you can. And you know what would be crazy is if you get knocked out of this skill, the skill goes on CD and it doesn't take effect. Imagine how annoying that would be. So then you have to wait another 5 seconds almost to recast it. Can you imagine how like this character instantly becomes like unplayable? Basically like, oh, you gotta do this. Oh, I'm done. You gotta just swing around like that. You have to. You basically, or use the press version. Like, or just have to play it like that, right? Or you have to, because if you run the risk, let's say if she wasn't anti-interruption, if you run the risk, do this, and you get knocked out of it. Oh, the skill goes on CD 5.5 seconds, and the skill didn't even take effect. It's not like, oh, I already selected 3, then I get knocked out of it. At least those 3 are connected. No. If you get knocked out, nothing works. That's annoying, right? But why didn't they do that? Because it's annoying. Then this wouldn't be a W. This character would not be a W if they did that. Okay, I promise you, if Nahida was not, I repeat, if Nahida was not an Archon, they would have done something like that to her elemental skill. Not that exact thing, but they would have made it much more annoying to use this skill. They wouldn't have made it so damn perfect. Probably the CD would be much longer, and then she wouldn't have resistance to while using this skill, and then maybe some sort of constellations will make it much easier. Like whatever, like they'll find a way to make it better through constellations. But because she's an Archon, of course, she's perfect, right? The same thing. If they just added Scaramouche, if they just added that one line, one phrase to Scaramouche and Yoimiya, they would have a much higher DPS ceiling in certain team comps. Like, imagine Scaramouche is able to bring... I mean, you can easily bring Bennett. You don't have to bring Zhongli. You can bring Bennett. You just can't. You just don't want to get hit, because especially Bennett uses ult. Scaramouche uses his elemental skill. Now, in that moment, you are like, and of course, you have Yalan's burst running as well. If you have Yalan, if not, whatever, run Xingqiu, right? In that moment, you're dishing out a good amount of damage, very good damage. But if you get hit, that's just, then it also compounds on how wasteful you are. Let's say Bennett's burst running, Yalan burst is running, Scaramouche's E is ticking. You're like, you're God mode. You are God in that moment. You are dishing out. Oh, you got hit. Well, that like half a second or 1 second that you're stuttered, you're losing triple the amount of value. Right? It's like high risk, high reward. Yes, it's risky, but if you can pull it off, very, very juicy. But if you have a C6 Faruzan and like a C2 Scaramouche with maybe R1, R2, R3 of his weapon, yeah, you can probably clean the chamber, clean up your enemy before you take damage. But do you realize then Hoyoverse is winning as well, because the money you would have spent solving this issue through getting Zhongli or investing into a shielder, you are spending that money elsewhere by investing into Scaramouche, investing into, Faruzan, whatever, right? Hoyoverse wins. Hoyoverse wins. Regardless which result you choose, Hoyoverse wins regardless. That's the end goal. They gave you options. You don't want to run a shielder, then funnel more power back into your carry, right? Make them do more. Oh, if you can't, well, then invest in a shielder. Protect your carry so they can deal damage comfortably. Because if you don't invest into your carry and you don't invest into a shielder, you're just going to have a very, very hard time trying to get the job done. That's just how it is. You're going to be running 5 different, you're going to have to go through 5 different iterations of Scaramouche's elemental skill, because you're only able to utilize, let's say, 60-70% of his elemental skills' duration, because the other 30%, 40%, you're dodging. You're dodging attack. Oh. And don't overly rely on his second talent, because his second talent is not a guaranteed proc. But yes, there will be times when the second talent procs, and you have to dodge an attack. Those situations are very difficult to time. Right? You're gonna tell me you will be able to calculate the percentage chance of you activating your second talent for Scaramouche to time it with a lethal attack from the enemies every single time, and you call me a capper. Like you say I'm cap. No way, it's not possible. So it's just make it like choose your poison at this point. Like not poison, but like choose your answer. Like what route do you want to take? Right? Some people would choose a shielding route. Some people would choose a hyper investing route. Either way, like like they're both solutions, of course, because Hoyoverse gave you those solutions, and you have to choose one of them. So no interruption resistance on some characters seems intentional. Exactly, that's what I'm saying, right? I don't, Techie, I don't know which answer you arrived at, but I think it's intentional. I think this is intentional. They designed it like this to sell the shielders, and it's no coincidence that Scaramouche's kit, his talent 1, forces you to swirl. Is this swirl? I think it's swirl with certain elements to gain additional bonuses. So having Layla being such a powerful shielder, it's kind of a no-brainer, is it not? I mean, if you don't want to play Layla, you can play Diona. Diona has a shield, and she has a heal, and she has cryo, right? So in a way, maybe it's revitalizing some of these older characters, giving more purpose, and making sure that, shielders are still needed. Because Hoyoverse also understands, a lot of people run shielders not because they need the damage mitigation. It's mostly because they need to not have their carries get interrupted every couple seconds. Layla's better than Diona. I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you don't want to invest into Layla, what are you going to do? If you don't have Zhongli, you refuse to pull and invest into Layla, and you still want to play Scaramouche, what are you going to do? And you don't want to hyper invest into Scaramouche, what do? You run Diona. That's like the third best option here. Right? It's just like you scale down. You don't want to do any of these things that Hoyoverse wants you to do. Then you just got to keep going down the list to like your second best, third best options. Which works. Of course it does. Well, otherwise, like, no, if it didn't work, Genshin wouldn't be this popular. Hoyoverse have really thought this through. Yeah, it's like a very intricate network of here's a problem, here's a solution. Here's a problem, here's a solution. For every problem Hoyoverse creates, they have to give us a solution. Because if they don't give us a solution, there are going to be riots. There are going to be very, very unhappy gamers. Walrus, that doesn't make sense. Layla banner came before Scaramouche. Well, it does, Techie. It does. Because if you... I know you watch my videos. Because Hoyoverse puts out leaks themselves. And they know the information pertaining new characters is like... When Layla was still live, people already knew what Scaramouche was doing. Like... You can't tell me, okay, listen. You guys cannot tell me that Hoyoverse doesn't think that players already know. Okay? So if you are paying attention to the leaks, which you are, I would say most of you guys are, you would have known what Scaramouche needed prior to his release. Right? Releasing a character like Layla prior to Scaramouche's release is just to... It's like Hoyoverse playing the under-table game with you guys. You're like, I know you guys see it. Right? You guys are looking at leaks. We know you are. We know that you know that we know that you know that you're looking at leaks. Like, so that's why they can do this. That's why they can release characters in this manner. So it's like... Right? Use the information that you are getting... illegally, apparently illegally, use that information and make the best choice that you can. Layla is not the only solution here. If you have Zhongli, you can completely ignore Layla. You could. What you lose is that you lose the 20% crit rate from swirling cryo. Like, yeah, there is a loss, right? But if you want Layla, you should have invested into Layla before Scaramouche came out. Now Layla's gone. You're going to have to wait for Layla's rerun if you want to run Layla, which, like I said, she's not necessary. It's not necessary. There are other solutions like Zhongli. If you don't want Zhongli or Layla or Diona, you don't want a Shield or Pure, you just want to run Bennett, then invest into Scaramouche. Make Scaramouche as strong as you can possibly make him. Maybe get a couple constellations on him. Make sure he's like beefed up a little bit so you can kill enemies in wonder. These are all solutions. Like, it's not that Hoyoverse is running you into a wall, that therefore they gave you many solutions. You can choose any of this stuff, and they could work for this character. Right? Like they're not forcing you guys. They gave you all these solutions. And I think for a company, it's fair. For a character like, and if you guys pay close attention, they only give you this wide of a selection for certain characters. Not every character gets this treatment. For certain characters, they give you many, many ways to build them, to play around with them, to plug their shortcomings, to make up for the losses that these 5-star characters have that shouldn't be there, quite frankly. But they're there, but they're solutions. And these solutions cost money, right? TechAdvice says, Warriors, come on, man, that's reaching. Most people don't look at leagues or YouTube when they pull units. But Techie, how many times has Hoyoverse done this already, though? They consistently release characters that you have no idea what the hell they do when they're released. And then after like a patch 2, 3 sometimes, and you're like, oh, we need that character. Wait a minute. We need that character from 2 patches ago. Oh, that's what that's for. They do this all the time. You know why? Because it's just another way to run FOMO. Now, like, they make you second guess yourself every time. It's like, oh, what if this character becomes super important 2 patches down the line? Maybe I should pull them. If they, like, for example, Alhaitham's coming, right? Alhaitham's coming up. For people who, let's say if you skip Nahida thinking, oh, I'm not going to pull Nahida, I'm just going to run, like, Alhaitham. What if Nahida works with Alhaitham? What if Alhaitham's best in slot team just has to have Nahida, or else he's gonna lose like 20-30% damage? Like, I don't fucking know. But it's like, you don't know. That's the scary thing. That's the thing that like messes with the free-to-plays, right? Yeah, it's like, if you really want to know, go look at the leaks. Like, go look at leaks if you really want to know. Read, right? And okay, the argument to say Hoyoverse doesn't know players look at leaks, that's cap. Because if they didn't know, they wouldn't be sending out lawsuits. They wouldn't be sending a subpoena to the court for Discord to release these. Like, right? Of course they know. And it like, for some reason, it's doing damage to them. So they're taking legal action. So of course they know that we know that they know that we know. That they know that we know. This is just like Hoyoverse is playing 2 games with you guys. One on the surface legally, and one under the surface illegally. They're playing both games at the same time. And they're winning at both games. And they're winning both of these games. Of course they are. You're just players. We're just players. They have all our data. We have none of theirs. Right? They know everything that we do. They know, like, they probably know it down to like your preferred key inputs. How many times you use an elemental skill for each character. They probably know that. Can you guys start fathoming how much data that is that they have? And with like modern programming AI, like, you don't even know what the hell they're doing with their data behind the scenes, right? Like, let's be honest. They could quite literally be plugging certain data that they have into an algorithm, and that algorithm spits out some sort of thing that now they take that information and they incorporate it into their business model. You don't know that. And what information do we have from Hoyoverse? A rough estimate on how much money they're making. That's all we know, right? So if you look at this battle, how are we gonna win? Players can't win this battle. Okay? You can't win this battle because Hoyoverse has more information to work with on their side compared to us. That's it. They're just utilizing data better, and they collect all this data. back then they used to release that stuff as like what Teyvat Times or something like that, or Teyvat like that newsletter that they released, like, oh, this like 4 million players got killed by lightning strikes. It's like, how the fuck, like, why are you tracking that? Why are you tracking that? It's probably just some arbitrary thing. They track everything. They know everything. They do that at the end of patches. Yeah, like they're flexing on us on how much data they're collecting from us, and we're just like, oh, so cool. Okay, I'm not trying to make fun of us, but I'm just saying, like, nobody even thinks about how scary that is, how much information they have access to. I'm not talking about personal information. I'm just talking about like in-game information. So, and we are still thinking that they make mistakes. Oh, they just forgot. Really now? They just forgot? They made a mistake? Oopsie? Really? After these characters are like in development for months, if not years, and they have like beta testers running through, and they collect all the beta testers footage, like info as well, and they made a mistake? I don't think so. I think, like I keep saying, I don't think Horrorverse has made a major mistake. Like, of course they make mistakes, but like not like fundamental character flaws. The only mistake, I will say this until I see another one, is the only mistake they've ever made was Morgana. I'll keep saying this. That's the only mistake they make, because the solution they had to Morgana was just kill Venti. Just gut that character. Completely remove him from his throne. They literally dragged Venti off his throne, crippled him, broke both the man's legs, then placed a new king on that throne while Venti watched from the sidelines. That's what they did to Venti. That's basically what they did to Venti. They dragged him off from his throne, broke both his legs, then placed another man on that throne while Venti watched from the side. And till this day, they kept that other king, the new king of Anemo, they've kept him nice and juicy. Venti is actually still good because latest enemies are groupable. Yeah, of course. But Venti is not like the king anymore. You can't say Venti is the best. When it comes to the best shielder, who is the best shielder? Zhongli. The best battery, Raiden, right? The best EM buffer is Nahida. What is Venti the best at? The best sucker. The best sucker. You can suck mobs very well. Whereas shielding is pretty much universal. Battery is pretty much universal, and EM buffer nowadays seems pretty much universal. Like, you can use, like, not universal, it's not like you need her in every team, but she could be played in a lot of teams, and even teams where maybe it's not the most optimal, she can bring good value. Zhongli, same case. Raiden, same case, right? Of course, they're not perfectly universal for every team, but then you look at Venti, like, what is Venti? Venti, you need him to be able to suck, right? You need him to suck. If he doesn't suck, he loses a lot of his purpose. And that suck is not universal, not as universal as the battery, EM buffing, and the shielding. It's just a tier lower. Let's say, I think universal battery is at the top. When it comes to utility, universal battery is like, oh, the best of the best. Maybe EM buffing Nahida brings and like reaction synergy is second, but because she can't react to Geo, she can't react to Anemo. I mean, those elements can still use the EM buff, but it's just like her talent also doesn't have Geo and Anemo. So like, if just having them in the same team oftentimes is like, it's not ideal. So we're gonna slap Nahida second, right? And then you have shielding. I think shielding and Nahida are like on the same tier. So it's like Raiden universal battery, followed by Nahida EM buffing and reaction synergies, and then Zhongli's shielding is like around the same level. I would say Nahida's is a little better than Zhongli's, and then you have Venti's as a tier 3 when it comes to like utility. You see what I mean? So it's like, how can we even rank them in the same category? Like, in the future, I would love for all tier lists just to have an Archon tier list, and then they're arranged in orders of like Archon power. It's like, Raiden's probably number 1, Nahida's number 2, Zhongli's number 3, and Venti's number 4. That's it. Just don't overcomplicate it. Don't like have people like, how can Venti's not be S tier? Fuck that. Like, just tier list. There's probably S tier, A tier, B, C, D, E, F, and then separate from all of them is an Archon tier list. Archon tier list just be Raiden, Nahida, Zhongli, Venti. That's it. Right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, this stuff is all just part of... I'm not out here trying to start a conspiracy. I don't even think this is at conspiracy level. I think this is quite the given, right? Hoyoverse... I mean, this is not new as well. Hoyoverse creates problems and sells you the solutions. We've been saying this for over a year now. It says sometimes Hoyoverse is taking the liberty to create something and wait multiple patches for its best in slot to come around. Which, it's like, do you guys think that's cool? Like, are you guys cool with, let's say they release a 5-star characters and let's say they release a 5-star character and it sucks ass for the first 5 patches they're out, and then suddenly they become like S tier after 5 patches? Is that, like, are you guys cool with that? I mean, there's no right wrong answer. I'm just curious. Okay, what about this? I see a lot of people don't like that. Okay, what about this? The character first comes out, and 5 patches later, on their rerun, they become good. How's that? So it's not like 5 patches later, they suddenly become good, but you can't get them anymore. But what about they come out, they suck, and then suddenly they're really good with a new addition of a certain character, and then they put their rerun. Still no. Some people are okay with that. Personally, I feel I'm more on the okay side than not okay, and I'll explain why, okay? It's because most of the times these characters aren't necessary for you to pull. Let's say if they release a character, this would not be okay for me. Let's say they release a character, and in that patch they buff this character to the teeth. Like everywhere you go, this character is just a god, right? For like, especially like let's just say Sparrowbiz. This character smashes Sparrowbiz, and there are certain like gimmicks that if you don't have this character, it's very annoying or damn near impossible to deal with those gimmicks, unless you have like a C6 character that can just bypass a certain phase, whatever. And then after that patch, this character sucks ass. And then it sucks for like 4 patches, and then they suddenly become good again through it. I'm not okay with that. Because that would be extremely, like, I mean, they're manipulative, but that would be too manipulative. That would be borderline baiting you. Right? So, in my opinion, I'll say this again. There are winning characters and losing characters. But, just because you are playing a losing character doesn't mean this character is dysfunctional. It doesn't mean this character doesn't work. It just means that for the same price, you had better options. Right? If we're gonna put this is probably a very interesting way to calculate. Imagine if we could, for every character, we can put $1 to DPS value. How much DPS are you getting? Let's just use the metric, right? Like, maybe we can write an equation. Like, we just assume it takes you 2 pities. 160 pull. That's 80 pulls twice. So we're saying, let's just assume every character costs 160 pulls, and then divide that by their most optimized DPS team damage per second, and then you can see $1 to $1 to DPS value. Like, every character should have $1 to DPS value beside them. That's what I mean, right? Like, I mean, I guess you can also find $1 to resource value. So meaning like you have to level this character level 90, and whatever. There should be like, it's doable. It's doable. It's like a very baseline thing. I'm sure someone can write this. And for example, if you want to calculate your character's dollar to DPS value, let's say if you got lucky, you pulled your 5-star with 10 pulls. You can then plug that into the calculator, and then boom, 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 it'll spit out like a dollar to DPS value that you're capable of. Right? Let's say, okay, you have the character, and what weapons are you running? Oh, you're running a free-to-play 4-star weapon? What refinement? Okay, we run refinement, and then it'll calculate what characters you have. Once you plug in all the stuff, it'll calculate your dollar to DPS value, and you can see how worth it is to invest into this character. Dollar to DPS wise. And it's tailored to your personal accounts resources that you have. Right? So then you can say, like, okay, so for me, I also have this other 5-star character. Right? I have like, or like you have a couple, like which one should I work on next? Which one will give me, with the stuff I have in my account right now, the best dollar to DPS value? And this algorithm should be able to spit out, and it's not hard, at least on the surface. Frozen Spaces, I just tuned in. What app are we talking? We're talking about this app. I think this would be a cool app to have, and it's very helpful because it'll show you, it'll literally tell you with the resources you have what is the best possible team you should be able to construct. Dollar to DPS value, right? Dollar to DPS or primo or whatever you guys want to call it. Because you can always allocate all resources into the game and you can give it a dollar value, right? You could. Everything in the game should have a dollar value. For example, even certain artifacts, right? Like, for example, this artifact should be, like, you should be able to calculate these stats and just find an average. You can maybe give an arbitrary dollar to value for this particular artifact. And for example, this artifact should have more DPS to dollar value for certain characters. Like Zhongli would run this much better than Raiden Shogun will, right? Like, for example. So of course you have to plug your information in, and the algorithm should be able to spit out the answer for you. And let's say in a situation where you have, let's say, Scaramouche and Sino, and then you have what's her other name? The dancer, Nilu, right? And then you have certain weapons and stuff. You can plug all that in, and whichever one gives you the highest dollar to DPS value, you should just invest into that character. That's the best character you can run with the current resources you have optimally. Hey, you guys should hit up like what's the Ziox. Ziox can fund this. I know the guy has the money to fund this, and then you can get 1010. You can get like what's his name? The guy Zajev. Just get these 3 guys, maybe plus some other theory crafters, get a coder together, and have them just write something like this. Create a website. Just make a website like this, and we could, like, even for fun. Don't you want to like see it for fun? Like, which of my teams actually has the best dollar to DPS value? it's interesting to think about this stuff. What in the copium I'm hearing? I don't think there's copium. I think like just people. If these people wanted to, they can make this in a week. They can get a beta out. They can write this out. It's really just one. It should be like one equation, like a final equation, right? Like, be interesting. I doubt that even have the money, they won't do it because they're busy making content and getting more money. That's true. They have like a money farm going. This sounds like a great idea on paper. It would benefit the community for 1 to 3 months, but after 3 months, it would completely destroy the only redeemable quality in Genshin. That's true, because then everybody would be like, "Oh, what's the dollar per DPS? Yeah, what's a DBT? Like, no, DBP, right? Wow, DB, no, DP, D dollar per DPS. Oh, DPD. Yeah, it's like, what's your DPD value for that comp? Like, what's this comp's DPD? Like, oh, this comp's DPD is lower than my current comp. Never mind, I'm not playing it. I'm not gonna even invest into it, right? It'll delve into like something like that, like, oh, like fuck that, like, oh, it has a low DPD value, then I'm not playing it. I'm not gonna even give it a time. It's like, oh, this character's DPD sucks ass, or like, oh, because you took 120 pulls to pull this character, now your it sounds so stupid. DPD value is just bad because it costed too much. You spent too many primo gems to get this character. But I mean, now that you have them, might as well build them. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It becomes too like it becomes too mathy. It becomes too like you should be playing like whatever you want, right? You should be playing whatever you want, not needing to think about like how much it costed. Like, hey, at the end of the day, it's doing damage, it's killing Hilichurls really fast. Who cares? Wallace, why do you think Sino is bad? I don't think. Okay, he is bad only by comparison. Remember, when I say bad or when I say losing characters, I'm comparing them to the best characters in the game. Okay, because these good characters exist, there has to be characters that are not as good, and Sino just falls into characters that are not as good. I'm not saying bad, just not as good as the good characters. I'm allowed to say that. I know I'm not allowed to say bad, even though there are bad characters, but just not as good. You, like, as a character, let's put it like this. As a character, you want to be the character that everybody compares other characters to you. You don't want to be a character that is being used to compare to better characters. Does that make sense? A good character in Genshin is you take every character and you compare to this character. Like, oh, is it as good as this character? Is that as good as this? You want to be this character. You don't want to be those characters. You don't want to be the character that's like, oh, let's just compare. You don't want to be one of those characters that people are just comparing. You want to definitely be in this category. You want to be the one that is setting the standard, right? You're the standard. That's a good character. And by definition, bad characters, air quote, bad characters are the ones over there. By definition. Right? So it's like, that's why I keep bringing up Sino, because Sino falls in the second category. He's not the worst, right? He's not the worst one in this category, but he's definitely not in this category. You're not going to take characters and be like, oh, but is it better than Sino? You know, like, that's what I mean. So it's all relative. It's all relative. This thing changes all the time, depending on certain like metas, and certain character comes out, right? Like, it's different, and how universal a character is also depends whether or not they're on this side or that side, right? For example, character like Keqing, while she's better now, like, I really hesitate to put Keqing in this category because Keqing is like a quick and aggravate spread user. We don't have that many. Like, yeah, we have Raiden, we have Sino, but stuff like they all kind of fall still into that category because then they fall under this bigger arch of DPS unit. They're just a DPS unit, right? It doesn't matter if you do quicken, vape, melt, like, you're just a DPS. You do damage. That's it. That doesn't matter what color the fucking text comes up on. You're just dealing damage. So yes, under the umbrella of quick and aggravate spread, Keqing's a great character. But under the bigger umbrella of just general DPS units, she's still kind of like good-ish, but like not really that good, right? So then, of course, she's gonna fall under like other DPS characters because that's how it is. If you just want to have fun, like, I can have fun. Like, having fun is, but part of having fun is just like, okay, what's good? What do I want to play? What kind of synergies can I work with? You know, like, oh, I have an X amount of resources and maybe like a weekend. What can I try to build this time? Stuff like that, right? Like, I mean, at least for my account. For your account, you probably have like certain characters. I've done account reviews. Some people don't even have Xingqiu built up. Right, which is fine. If you don't have any synergies for him to play in, you don't have to build him up. But if you have a weekend and you just hold, let's say, a Hu Tao, and you don't have Yelan, maybe it's worthwhile to look into Xingqiu, right? That's what I'm just saying. It depends on what you're working with, and what you have. What's the best team to run Kaching in? Oh, buddy. I love it when people ask me that question. Listen, I don't know if this is the best comp, but this comp is fucking amazing. I'm just gonna say it. This comp is really damn good. I have a pretty good sword, so I love this comp. Oh no! Again, Zhongli is probably not necessary. You probably should be bringing Kazuha. Or like Sucrose if you don't have Kazuha. Or a Viridescent user. I bring Zhongli. Listen, I bring Zhongli because I suck at the game. Because I suck at the game. First and foremost, I just get that out of the way before you guys say it. Because it hurts less when I say it. I suck, so I bring Zhongli. And as you guys see, I have no healer in this game, so all damage taken is permanent for the entirety of your Abyss run. Like floor 12 Abyss run. If you guys tell me you can run this team like with Yamiko, and then you can run Kazuha and you won't take damage, or you take very limited damage. Like, I mean, even if you have all blinking red health bars, as long as you kill like the last chamber, you're fine. But your boy sucks, right? So I bring Zhongli. It's not like it's a total damage loss. It's a 20% loss. Okay? Remember, Zhongli is a walking Viridescent. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's not here because it doesn't scale. 20%. All shreds 20% all resistances unconditionally. Well, conditional is having his shield up. This man is a walking live Viridescence. Don't have to swirl. You don't have to do all that bullshit. It's just 20% all resistance shred. 20%. So, Nahida, additional damage, right? All of her Dendro damage gets 20%. Kaching, electro damage, 20%. Yes, it's not 40% Viridescence. Oh my god, I'm losing out on the extra 20% electro. Okay, I get it. I know. Having that, it's definitely a higher DPS boost having that 40% electro because you also have Yamiko, right? Yamiko, Kaching, they both benefit from this. But for the sake of your boy's sanity and the fact that I don't want to rerun chambers 20 times in a row because like I somehow can't, I just can't dodge a certain attack, or I keep getting one shot, this is a much better team, much more consistent. And yes, you are losing damage, but it's not as much as you think, right? And Zhongli has Petrification, which locks enemies in place. Like, in certain situations, he does make up more than just the stats shows. Petrification will make it so Kaching's charge attacks don't hit enemies back, at least for that, like, duration. Right? And Yamiko's burst doesn't, like, hit enemies back. Everything's fine. Kaching's burst doesn't, like, spread enemies. Everything's good. So it's like there is some synergies. Trust me, people. I play Kaching more than you guys think. Like, I know how annoying certain gimmicks of this character is, and this comp isn't as big of a DPS loss as people think it is. I use Fischl instead of Yayan. Yeah, Fischl is a great alternative here as well. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is not a definitive team. Like I said, you can choose to run like Kokomi here and Kazuha here. Like, that works too. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to run Kokomi here, by all means, go ahead, do it. Right? If you want to run Bennett here, go ahead, do it. Run Bennett and then Kazuha. Fine by me. It's okay. But I'm just telling you, if you run Kazuha without a second Electro, you are almost never going to be able to swirl Electro. Because Nahida will eat it. She eats elements for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you only have one Electro, forget about swirling it. You're swirling Pyro. So the team kind of falls apart, okay? You need 2 Electros. Jokes aside. I mean, it's not a joke. I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. If you run just one Electro, you're not swirling it. Maybe you swirl it like once every 5 ults. 5 bursts. Yeah. So, yeah, Fischl works too. Kazuo Kaching Nahida Kuki. That works too. Yeah, yeah. As long as you have an additional electro applicator or DPS or somebody who can apply electro, then you should be fine. Then Nahida can't consume all of it. Kaching was even worse the first with Dendro. Yeah, Kaching is amazing now. Like, she's not the best DPS, don't get me wrong, but she feels much better, fun to play, swift, has options. Oh my god, options. Like, oh, did you, like, we just named like 4 different team comps you can run with Kaching Nahida. Kaching Nahida are the key pieces. Other 2, the 3rd and 4th slot, whatever you got, man. You got Kuki, run Kuki. You got Zhongli, run Zhongli. You got Fischl, run Fischl. You got Kazuo, run Kazuo. You don't have Kazuo, you got Sucrose, run Sucrose. Venti, run Venti. Who cares? But there are, of course, there are conditions, right? If you're running a Nemo, make sure you have 2 Electro. That's like the condition. If you're running a Nemo, make sure you have 2 Electros. Right? Run Kokomi. Right? Run Kokomi if you want. You can run Kokomi Fischl. If you don't have Zhongli, right? Or just replace Nahida with Traveler. Yeah, it works, but like it doesn't work as well. You know what I mean? It works, but it doesn't work as well. Like, this skill is broken, man. Like, what the fuck is that? What is that? What the... However, so what were you thinking with this ability? Like, this skill is just leaps and bounds above what other character is capable of doing. Like, if you want this character to be a balanced character, this should have been a burst skill type of skill. Like, this should have been like a burst skill level ability. Anyways, but you know, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. So, hey, I love it. C0 Wanderer has a high skill cap to use effectively. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, if you're playing Wanderer, you better be maximizing that second talent. If you're not maximizing that second talent and the free dash you get, you're like, you're losing out on a lot. That's what I can say. Like, that character is not easy to play. It's not cheap to build. It has good ceiling. I'll give Scaramouche that. The one thing I'll give Scaramouche is because of Faruzan, Scaramouche has an incredibly high ceiling. But that ceiling is very costly. Both in-game currency and also real-life currency. So, I mean, you don't have to use real-life currency if you can wait 2-3 years to slowly build it up, right? You want to get his R5 as well? Problem with that is not a very shareable resource. Scaramouche, my man, is a very selfish man. He made sure his weapon could be used by him and him alone, and maybe like one other character, maybe. But apart from that, it's just a Scaramouche show, man. If you want to play Scaramouche, you want to devote yourself to him, you better devote your whole self to him. Like, I'm talking about your wallet, your life, your freaking, like, your dreams. You know, everything belongs to Scaramouche. You gotta, like, spend time learning him, making sure you're comfortable with his rotations, right? Everything. It's not plug and play. Scaramouche is the furthest carry from plug and play that I've seen. Scaramouche wants your entirety, wants everything about you. Pretty much most Sims have already. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like, some people just don't want to commit that hard onto Scaramouche. Like, just, it's fair, that's okay. Then maybe Scaramouche is not the right character for you. Like, you don't want to be tied down resource-wise to one character, then don't try to invest into Scaramouche, because you're gonna find that he keeps wanting more and more. Walrus, Hoyo is still paying. Wait, what was that? Hoyo is still paying for Gimping Yoimiya's kit. Are they, though? I think they made a pretty decent chunk from Yoimiya. Also from people pulling Yunjin for Yoimiya. When Yunjin first came out, all the Yoimiya Sims were literally just like busting from the seams, if you know what I mean. Those credit cards came out faster than you can say debt. Holy smokes, like the theory crafters at the time was like, oh my god, a normal attack buffer. I wonder who that's for. My physical Zhongli is gonna right? It's just they can change a character like that. Hoyoverse can release one character and it can make literally the worst character. Like I wouldn't even be surprised if they released a character that makes Klee like top 5 DPS in the game. Where's Klee? Where's my dot? Oh, there she is. Like, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Hoyoverse really wanted to. They can release. Let's just think for a second. What is something they could do to make Klee suddenly top 5 DPS in the game? I'm sure there's something they can do. There has to be something they can do. Like that. Like I'm trying to make a point here is that like anybody can go from being chump to champ. From chump to champ. It just takes one character. Release her mother. Small character crit buff. Hey, yo, you guys are making it a little too obvious. What the fuck? Small red character that uses bombs gets a crit buff. But I mean, charge attack, Ganyu is gonna get a huge buff too if you do charge attack. They can't do charge attack. That's too broken. Charge attack is another buff to Kaching. Ganyu gets a huge buff from charge attack. Ito will get a huge buff. Where's Ito? Ito gets a huge charge attack buff, right? So these 3 characters would just suddenly... I mean, that wouldn't be bad. Imagine a charge attack buffer comes around. Klee, Ito, and Hu Tao! Hu Tao! Oh! No! Don't buff charge attacks! Please! Not charge attacks. Anything but charge attacks. Klee would be the last character people think of. Yeah. If you buff charge attacks, Klee would be buried. Like, she would be 7 feet under. Or was it 6 feet under? 7 feet underground. Like, people won't even talk about her. It's Hu Tao, Ganyu, Ayaka, Kaching, even. Ito. Wait. Is it Zhao? Oh no, he's plunge attack. He's plunge attack. Never mind. Yeah, unfortunately, charge attack is just yeah, we can never have a charge attack buffer in the game. I just don't think we can, unless they are designed in a way that characters such as Hu Tao, Ganyu, they just can't run them, right? So they can't be Dendro, they can't be Hydro, they can't be Geo, basically. They can't be Cryo. Anemo. Yeah, like if you run like an... No, they can't, never mind, there's Ganyu. Never mind. They can't be any element. Maybe Geo. A charge attack buffer in Geo. But then Hu Tao would be able to utilize that quite well. You just drop a Hydro. You drop like Xingqiu or Yelan. Probably Yelan. And you plug the new one in and you just suddenly destroy everything. A Geo character that every crystallized boosts your charge attacks. Maybe it has to be something that niche. Like you pick up their crystallized crystals and you get a huge boost in charge attack for the next like X amount of charge attacks, right? Per crystallized you pick up, you can get 3 or something, 3 charge attacks, and it stacks up to 9, and with constellations you can stack up to 15. And if you can get 15 charge attacks, and if once reach max stacks, you can get an additional bonus or something like that. So 5, because you know how crystallized shields, sometimes you have like 3 that drops in the same area, and if you pick up 1, you pick up all 3, which is like fucking stupid. But hey, that's just how it is. So within that case, then you can just pick all of them up, and then you can get a bunch of charge attack stacks. Like maybe. But I'm just saying, and yeah, then they can utilize crystallize. It's like 2 birds with 1 stone. Crystallize suddenly becomes good. A Hydro DPS that lets her burst stay on field when she switches out. Isn't that Yelan? Or you talk about Hydro on field DPS. But that's still kind of like Yelan. That's too similar to Yelan. Not the crystal like the. Listen, chat. If HoYoverse one day releases like crystallized changes, just make sure to come back to your boy. My name's EroticWalruss. Alright? EroticWalruss. I keep telling you guys, a lot of the changes that's happened in this game, I've said like a long time ago. I'm not flexing. I'm not flexing. I'm just saying. I've gotten a lot of these things correct. And when I used to say shielder, like shielding was meta before everybody started like talking about that shit, I got made fun of. People, listen. I am so behind the meta that I'm ahead of the meta. You can write that down. Write that down. Walrus is so behind the meta that he's ahead of the meta. Yes. Print that on a shirt somewhere. That's some Walrus Chi Battery Giga Brain quote. It just makes you realize that HoYoverse is just cycling through the metas in a fucking circle. Calvin says, I think they just need to build characters that can decrease stamina consumption of charge attack, which pretty much useless on Hu Tao C1. That's true. Actually, that's true. Yeah, if they do that, that would be pretty helpful to a lot of these charge attack characters. Maybe increase the attack speed of charge attacks. But then Hu Tao runs animation cancel, so it's already as fast as. But then increasing the animation speed, that would just make it even easier to. I mean, then it's a skill thing, right? Like Hu Tao wouldn't benefit as much, but still can benefit. But other characters like Klee, imagine if Klee's charge attack speed was increased by a decent amount. That would feel very good. Klee has good animation cancels too. Charge attack no longer requires charging. That sounds like a C6. You just don't even do the animation. Enemies just spontaneously explode. When you hold down the left mouse button, enemies just die. Attack speed buff in this game is a meme. We need attack speed buff. And attack speed buff should affect charge attack. Does it affect charge attack right now? I don't know. Actually, can someone answer that question? Do you guys know definitively if attack speed right now affects just normal attacks or charge attacks too? It doesn't. That sucks. They should affect charge attacks. That sucks. Unfortunate. Usually RPG games have huge attack speed buffs. Crit damage, attack speed, attack modifier. These are all like very traditional stuff. I don't know why when it comes to Genshin they've chosen to neglect attack speed. Maybe it's too buggy. Does it or it's too easy to abuse with all the animation cancels? Maybe it just becomes too easy to abuse once you reach a certain breakpoint. Things just stop working. Like some characters just get too broken. Maybe, I don't know. They could do something as simple as allowing Venti's E to pull her bombs. Allowing Venti's E and his... Does Venti's burst pull it? Like, I think allowing Venti's burst to pull in Klee's bombs would be a great start. Geo needs to be packed into physical damage, hydro, cryo, geo, electro that fixes so many issues with 2 types of characters. True, true. Physical damage should have, like, I think cryo, electro, and geo should be the 3 types of physical damage, because electro and cryo, because they are part of the superconduct, so that's very easy to run with. And geo is just like because of the resonance, and there's a good amount of characters that you can bring in the electro and cryo category to facilitate a geophysical DPS, so it could work. Might as well make Venti pull clean. Maybe just throw Klee into a swirling vortex of death, and then we don't have to supervise her anymore. I think that's a Kaya solution, isn't it? That's when Jean went on vacation and left Kaya to supervise Klee, and then Kaya hooked up a deal with Venti for some booze. Like, hey, what if you just like suck Klee into a vortex, and for the next 2 weeks, I don't have to supervise her? Until Alice comes back and realizes her daughter's gone and just decides to nuke Mondstadt. Yeah, Alice would be like, hey, remember what the gods didn't do 1,000 years ago? I'm about to do to you guys right now. Varka then's gonna come back and realize that Mondstadt is not on the world map anymore, and the man's gonna be out for blood against Alice, and we have a whole different side storyline going on. Would that be canon? That's my next question. Why not allow Venti to suck like Kazuha, as he is the Nemo Archon? Why is the random Canadian can suck bigger enemies, but Venti can? Well, technically, Kazuha can't suck the bigger enemies. It's just because his one instance of like a Nemo like collapse is very strong, and he's the epicenter, right? So it's very easy to manipulate how and where you want enemies to be like kind of falling into. And his burst skill doesn't necessarily suck, it's just in that area. But because enemies for the most part are attracted to the player, so you can just position yourself within his burst somewhere, and the enemies will walk towards you themselves, allowing you to easily apply all the viridescence and all that stuff. It's just easier application. If Venti's burst, you can choose where you want to release it, the distance, the height, he'll be a great character. No, it's that simple. If you want Venti to be a good character, let us control how far we want to shoot the burst skill. Like, we should be able to hold down his R, and just like how we control, like, look at that, look, just like that, how we control this. If you let us do this with Venti's R, and that circle is the cyclone epicenter, instantly he's a good character. Like, instantly he'll be great again. But it's because it's random. Let's say if you're fighting 3 monsters, one is here, and one is back here. If you're Kazuha, you just maybe walk around here, and then you press Q. And then you press your E for Kazuha, and then you can maybe press E again if you have a sack sword. It's easy, right? Like, the enemy is here, and behind you. Kazuha can get the job done. But Venti, if I were Venti, my burst would be all the way over there. This enemy would never be affected, right? The burst will shoot over there, or over there, or at worst case scenarios, you'll shoot behind you. Like, what the? Oh my god, I fell. Yeah, like, that's my point. That's the annoying thing about Venti. If I could choose, I would just shoot Venti's burst right here. Right in front of me. I'll aim Venti's burst right here. And then the suction, the vortex appears here. Perfect. But they don't let you do that. You can kind of control where your Venti's burst lands, but it's kind of annoying. Yeah, but look at my solution. Let's say the 3 enemies. Okay. Let's say that's one enemy. That food stall is one enemy. That's one enemy, and that's one enemy. With Venti's burst, how are you going to control it to get the perfect burst? The perfect burst is right where you're standing, actually. If these 3 are the enemies, the perfect Venti burst is exactly where you're standing right now. How are you going to get into that position without wasting time? Oh, you're gonna have to run. run and stand behind this character. Make sure to line it up perfectly so when you use the burst, and remember, they can't move as well. If they move, Venti's burst relocate. Let's say if you are here and suddenly they decide to move 3 steps to the right, well, guess what? Now your burst shoots out over here. Now your burst lands over here. Yeah, this is where your burst is. And meanwhile, these 2 enemies, they won't go to the burst. They'll make a beeline straight to where you are while you're shooting your burst. While you're stuck in Venti's animation, those 2 characters are moving towards you. So if your burst misses and it goes over there, now they're all making a beeline towards you. Then you gotta run out. You gotta run all the way onto your burst, and you gotta start doing your fucking swirl bullshit. And also remember, Viridescents only work when you're on field. Right, when your Anemo character is on field. So you got to make sure your element is already applied. So let's say you applied your element over here because you're anticipating you're going to shoot your burst here. And then you go here, you line up your burst, you shoot it, and you missed. Your burst went over here. Your application's over here. And the monster's running towards you over here. You're fucked. You restart the whole chamber. That's the whole annoying thing about Venti. But imagine if you applied your element over here and you can aim your Venti burst right in this spot, all the problem is solved. All these, like, non-issue. It's a non-issue, right? That's what's so annoying about Venti. Nobody's saying the character doesn't work. It works. If you're a god, you apply here, you run back, you line up perfectly behind this character, shoot it out, it lands right here as those characters are also running towards you. Everything's swirled together. Then you run back or switch characters and you can do your DPS whatever the hell you want. But then remember, this monster is still standing here. So if you want this monster to get applied as well, you have to then run back, do your DPS, and hope that that monster follows you into the swirl. But by then, Venti's already off field, so this enemy here never got the Viridescence debuff. Because let's say you run back here, you change your DPS, you do your DPS, and then wait for the character behind you, you wait for this one to start walking in. By the time, sure, they'll walk in towards the end, but Venti's not on field. So you lose the Viridescence. So this character never gets Viridescence applied to it. You see how annoying that is? So it's just like, it's incredibly annoying. Versus Kazuha, you just ult, and the ult is pretty big. It covers like all the way up to there somewhere. It's a pretty big range. His elemental skill, his hold E can suck all the monsters in. So for the monsters that you missed with your burst, you can apply it. You can do it twice if you have Sack Sword. If you're just running Favonius Sword, that's cool as well. Get that big E, switch to another character, get some battery back. Like, Kazuha can also provide some battery support, like some energy support to your team if he's running Favonius, which a lot of people are likely running Favonius on Kazuha. I'm just saying. That's why, like, Venti is just such a hard character to make work. Because this situation, believe it or not, in Abyss, especially Abyss 12, happens quite often. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just a coincidence? No. Because Hoyoverse made damn sure that Venti is hard to use. Unless, hey, you know, the only time you spawn in and a bunch of monsters spawn over here and then you can just shoot one Venti burst here and suck in like 12 monsters and you can burst them is on Venti reruns. Wow! That must be a coincidence too, then, I'm guessing. Absolutely ridiculous. VV works off field, does it? I don't think so. I remember VV even has a thing, right, where it says yeah, Viridescence doesn't work if your Anemo character is off field. I remember. Because I remember I made that mistake before, and then I was corrected, and I was like, and I tested it, I was like, oh, damn, you're right. I remember you have this character, whoever is your Anemo, has to be on field for the Viridescence 40% to take effect. I remember that. Yeah, it's whack. It's very whack. I always thought like it should work even when you're off field because the swirl is happening. Would Venti reclaim his throne if he could aim his burst? I think so. I think he could. Listen, if Venti could choose where his burst goes, I think he can give Kazuha a very good run for his money. Okay, one more change. Venti's elemental skill has to revolve around him. That's the other change we need. He needs to be okay, Venti not only needs to aim his burst skill, he also needs to aim his elemental skill. I don't even have a team with Venti in it. That's how bad the character is. The game doesn't even let me put him in. Okay. You see this elemental skill? The fact that it's right there, that's bad. That's very bad. Because like this should be his pressed E as well. This updraft is useless in combat. This is a prime example of Hoyoverse used to think that like these kind of utility features in characters' kits are like important. It's not. And this takes way too long. Actually, even if he could aim his burst, I don't think he can rival Kazuha. Kazuha is fully combat focused. Whereas Venti is not. Yeah. I don't think so, man. Unfortunate. I just think Venti is and his constellations suck. Like, what is that, man? Kono bokutachi wa koi ga. This is some your name level this is your name level theatrics. What is going on over there? What is that? Okay, I have to take Hana away. Okay. Okay. Venti's float lets him skip Raiden jump rope phase. Are people still struggling with Raiden's fight, man? I don't know. Like are you struggling with Raiden fight to the point where you need to be skipping phase? I know you're memeing. I know you're memeing, but you know, like he's an old character. He's worse than Zhao. I think Zhao is a pretty solid character, no, to be quite honest with you, especially with Fadozan now. Zhao is a great character. If you can get Fadozan C6, Zhao becomes like amazing. Ah, Venti. I wonder if Venti shaves his legs, or are there just like leg hair poking out from this? Is this called a stocking or a legging? For the females in chat, what is Venti wearing? Is he wearing leggings or is he wearing stockings? Tights? What? There's leggings, there's stockings, there's tights. What's the difference? What are the three differences? Okay. Ladies, what's the difference? I need to know the difference. What are the difference between leggings, stockings, and tights? Tights go all the way up to your waist. So is it canon that Venti's tights goes up to his waist? Venti has a pretty good fashion, I gotta say. Like he's pretty stylish the way he's dressed. Like he's got that It's got that class about him, you know, like. But like, he is one bad wardrobe choice. He's one wardrobe choice away from looking like a clown. Like that's he. Imagine if he didn't have this cape, he would look quite awkward. I think like this cape really completes his outfit, his wardrobe. Look at that. Venti is a well-designed character, I gotta say. Like, Venti is a pretty well-designed character. It's a shame that this character was old. So a lot of his combat, the essentials to his kit is kind of dysfunctional at this point in the game. Like, I not dysfunctional, just maybe a better word is like irrelevant. Probably is a better word. Maybe not dysfunctional, because I think they definitely have their uses in unique scenarios, but irrelevant for the vast majority of the content that we face. Even utility content like this. You know, like, especially with Kazuha out, do you really still need this? And even the craziest part is like they made this thing that you can craft in this game. That you like, what was that thing? It's like you can do this updraft, trap it in a bottle, and you can fly up. I remember it's why did they do that? Tights are for men and more paints like. So like you see those bikers, right? Like those bikers when they go like cycling, those are tights. Ballet tells me tights or breeches are the viable name, and I am a male, by the way. Okay. Leggings stop at your ankles. Oh, okay. I bet he have Zhao shave him with his spear. Bro, is that canon? Somebody could confirm. Think they're stockings, high socks, tights are like thinner material, not pants worthy. Leggings you can wear as pants. He's wearing his shorts over them, so yes. You can see them from the side. Wait, what do you mean? I can see them? Oh, those are those his tights? Is that his tight here? I've always thought that was his shirt, because look, he has a crease from his shirt that goes all the way down here. But his shirt is like all the way up to here, right? So yeah, I think that's his shirt, because you can see the side crease. He's wearing leggings. You see, this is the thing. Another thing for the community to argue over is, where is Venti wearing tights, leggings, or stockings? That's something you like, you know, community can go argue. We're gonna have like, we need a subreddit for like Venti tights, Venti leggings, Venti stocking. We need to have 3 different subreddits, and we need to have people working day and night figuring this out. So it really is too high sock. I don't know. I don't know. Do they just stop here? Do they stop here? Doesn't that cut blood circulation? I don't know. Man, he's showing some thigh. Where? Oh yeah. Because his shorts are very short. Yeah, he's wearing like very short shorts. So like, yeah, he's showing a lot of thighs. Does the shirt connect the... What? Wait, you're telling me this shirt comes with socks? So how does he put the shirt on? Look, this shirt also goes up to his neck. So how does he put the shirt on? this is crazy. Kyla Vina says, I thought tights and leggings were the same thing. I thought they were all the same thing. I thought it was just like a feet, inches, meters kind of thing. I thought people from different areas of it's like soccer and football. They're the same thing, but people from different areas around the world calls them different. Like Americans call it tights, like, and the rest of the world calls them leggings or something like that. I thought it was that kind of differences. I didn't know it was this complex. Does the material matter? I don't know. Now I know leggings stops at the ankles, so this ain't leggings, bro. This ain't leggings. He's got the whole thing on. Right? He's got like at least up to his thighs, at the very least. Like, what do you call that? Maybe we need a professional called Beluga-chan to help us distinguish the difference. She is a Lulu leggings extravaganza. Beluga-chan, what are the differences between stockings, leggings, and tights? Beluga-chan was not watching my stream. I am very sad now. Beluga-chan, as a leggings extravaganza, can you please educate the chat on the difference between tights, leggings, and stockings?
Leggings.
Okay, apparently leggings goes up to your ankles and they're tight. Then what about tights?
The other one?
Stockings.
Tights is, I think, more thicker.
So tights are more thicker. So are you saying tights and stockings are exactly the same, but tights are just thicker? Okay, so according to Beluga-chan, who is a leggings extravaganza, she says the difference between stockings and tights are that tights are thicker.
Tights? Stocking. Socks.
Tights and stockings are like socks, apparently, but they go up to...
Bigger than white socks.
So tights and stockings are like socks, and you wear them like socks, but they go up to your hips. So they're like pants. They're like tight pant socks.
One of them is bigger than the other.
And one of them is more sheer than the other. And that's the stockings, right? Okay. Okay. Tights can't be sheer, apparently. Interesting. Look, our community is completely split. Now one side is saying tights is more sheer, the other side is saying stocking is more sheer. Okay, so here's a question for the professional. Stanley is asking, then what are yoga pants? So apparently yoga pants are like leggings. So Beluga-chan, you have seen what Venti is wearing, right? Do you think what are Venti's? What is Venti wearing? Is he wearing tights, stockings, or is he wearing leggings? Okay.
Looks like one of the ballet dance.
Okay, so it seems like Venti is wearing a ballet dancer inspired tights. Final answer. Venti is wearing tights that are inspired by the ballet. Interesting. I think we have reached the end of this conversation. I think Venti is probably one of the more fashionable characters in the game, followed by Mr. Worldwide. If you guys don't think Tartaglia has some serious drip to his kit, you guys are hard capping yourselves. Like the active decision to show just a little bit of skin right here in this triangle. And look at the decorative pieces. Not too much, but just enough. His boots create a great dark highlight that echoes throughout, his design. His gloves, and also the gloves that don't fully go on to like don't go fully up to his wrists. Just gives that extra bit of flair to his kit. The fact that he has this streak of, you know, like gradient cape. This man. And he has a little mask on his head. How cool is that? How cool is that? I think Tartaglia. Great. Ayato, like I think Ayato looks a little too I don't know. Like I don't think Ayato is that drippy. Not like Tartaglia. Tartaglia looks like he can go to a ballroom dance. He can go take on an assassination attempt. He can do everything with this outfit. He can attend his brother's piano recital. He can, you know, go to the royal palace and meet with the king. He can, you know, he can do whatever the hell he wants in this outfit. Like this outfit is all purposeful. He can frickin' like do a 100-meter jog. Like I mean like a 10 kilometer. He can run a marathon. Ayato, probably not. Diluc best strip. Really? Let's see. I don't even remember what Diluc strip looks like. Pretty good, gotta say. Yeah, you're right. Like this man definitely, you know, I think I have to give extra points to the fur on his coattails here. That's a sweet touch. But what I find about his drip is that it's a little too monotonous. But it's cool. Like the red highlights are like, you know, his he's got this ornament here. He's got the red highlights on his palms of his gloves. You guys look behind here. He got the red highlights, these diamond shapes. Like he really has like these diamond shapes here. He's got his thing. He's got the inside of his coattails that are red, like dark red. But just feels a little monotonous. And man, oh man, why does Diluc look like he's never ever stepped foot in the gym on leg day before? Chongyun has some drip. I remember Chongyun looked nice, but like some of these characters just look a little too monotonous. I think Chongyun looks a little bit monotonous. Like it's pretty cool though, pretty cool. Yeah, like he's got the nice gold or bronze or whatever this highlight color is all throughout his kit. Nice gradient blue hair. But yeah, Kaya also looks pretty damn cool. Drip wise, Kaya looks pretty damn cool. Interesting. I wonder, like the barbers in I just gotta say the barbers in Teyvat has got to be some of the most talented people around. Like, have you guys seen these characters' haircuts and like these? Look at these highlights. Like, look at like the design that they have. Almost all characters' hairs are like dyed to a certain gradient color. Almost, not all of them. Okay, like Scaramouche's Scaramouche, like you probably should go after your barber. Like whoever cut your hair. You see, when you're distant from civilization, you be hitting up those street barbers. That's when you know you got fucked, man. Like what the fuck is this? Scaramouche, like even Razor is probably rocking a better barber than Scaramouche. Scaramouche, you probably should have the biggest beef with your barber. Like I would hate my barber more than the doctor if I'd be rocking this haircut everywhere I go. That's just, maybe that's like he's trying to hide it with his big ass hat. God dang it. Look at that. That is just that is unfortunate. Scarlet's hair is so awful, it's great. It's so bad, it's good. Whew. I don't know. Like look at Zhao. Like, you know, Zhao's got that good drip. He's got that highlight. Look at that. Look at Zhao. Oh my goodness, the man has a highlight like right here in, like, is that, like, look at that. He got the under highlights. Like, how did they do that? Like he got the highlights right under here, and then he got the ones over here. What about down here? Oh, he even got the highlight on the back too. Like, look at that little bit piece sticking out over there. Eula's got a nice gradient. Like, it really makes you wonder, is her natural hair color the dark stuff or the what? It should be the, like, Eula's natural hair color should be the ones coming out from here, right? That's her natural hair. So she tried to dye her hair like a darker shade of blue. And then as time went on, her hair grew out, her natural hair color comes out. Interesting. Ito, man. Ito and Xiao even shares the same fucking barber. Look at that. Look at that. They have the same highlight. Can you guys see? Like, they share similar kits. Ito not only stole Xiao's kit in the game, he also stole Xiao's barber. Ito not only stole Zhao's playstyle and his like role in the game. Oh, okay, Ito, I see you. Oh my god, Colleen, okay. Flexing the haircut, nice. Ganyu and her mullet, I remember at some point people were saying like, what if they just put the bow that she has on her back here, like on her shoulders, or like, yeah, just her back. What if that bow was on her hair instead? Zhongli's barber is epic though, so much so Al Hytham imported him. Really? Does Al Hytham have the same haircut as Zhongli? I didn't even notice. Oh, look at that. Wait, at one point Zhongli dyed his hair this color. Zhongli actually at one point a long time ago, I mean for his hair, probably a year or something ago, he dyed his hair this color. And as his normal hair grew out, this kind of just like extended. Anyways, I think we're gonna record a video. Okay, let's record a video talking about the whole shield debacle and kind of basically summarize. I think it's great if we can at the end of streams like kind of summarize the main topics we talked about when it comes to shielders. Now, my whole idea is not to say shielders are bad for the game. I think shielders are pretty cool, and I think having characters that rely on shielders are necessary. And also like for Zhongli as an Archon, it's just like you can't just mitigate his entire role and purpose in the game, right? He needs to have purpose. But sometimes it just feels like I wish we had more slots, or like we can consolidate some of these slots. Maybe start making shielders who also can debuff the enemies more, but then you would run Viridescent out of the game. So you have to have a shielder, but then you also, and if you give them buffs, then you can never have them buff better than or debuff in this case better than Viridescence. Right, it's a tricky situation to be in. The idea was always shielders are supposed to be a defensive play in the game, and I mean, Geo was supposed to be a more defensive play, whereas Anemo was supposed to be a more offensive play. But then when you have everything in the game is revolved around offense, defense really becomes a secondary consideration. But at the same time, for certain characters, if you don't have good defense, like this is the whole situation. Like the best offense is a good defense, right? Like that's an old saying, but it's true in some cases. The fact that some characters needs to dodge, like if you don't have a shielder, you lose a lot of offense. So in those situations, it's better to have really, really solid defense, so the characters that are in question never have to dodge. So that's, you know, where the whole purpose of running shielders comes in. But then it also feels like most shielders lack true purpose. What I mean by that is they're not utilizing the full shield. They're just using the parts that reduces interruption, because in some cases you don't even need the shield. You just need the anti-interruption. So is there a way to even solve this problem? Like, does HoYoverse want to solve this problem? Right? And all this was inspired by a viewer who sent me a video from who was it again? Wait, let me check. We've talked about this in the past, but nowadays, you know, people, especially with Scaramouche, people are saying like you need to run him with shielders, and people are saying like, okay, shielders. It's like it's definitely a problem. Like I'll say that it's definitely a problem, but it's not detrimental to the game state. And HoYoverse has designed the entire game around it. Let me see whose video it was. It was 1010. Yeah, it's 1010. He made a video talking about it. I haven't really watched it, but it's a very interesting topic to have because it's been part of the game for a while, and especially since how they gutted Venti. I mean, not gutted, but like they kind of like took Venti down a notch from his prime. Are they going to do the same to Zhongli? Probably not, and that's basically what this video is going to be about, okay? Especially since I think next patch is what? It's going to fall... Is it going to fall under the Lunar New Year? Lunar New Year is February something something. Is it next patch or the start of next patch? Let me see. Chinese New Year. What time is Chinese New Year? Chinese New Year 2023. What... January 22nd. So yeah. Next patch is gonna be next patch. Yeah, because it's January 22nd this year. Are they gonna rerun Hu Tao? Probably not, because would they rerun the like a funeral parlor character during Chinese New Year? Maybe Zhao. Yeah, like Zhao might get a rerun. Maybe Zhongli. Like Zhongli, Zhao might come back next patch. So it's like... You know, this is a conversation that I think is worthwhile having now rather than later. But I can probably go into more detail about John, because I think I've had conversations with people. It's like a while ago about, I think even during Zhongli's last rerun, about his viability going forward. Because look at what they did to Venti, and are they going to start phasing Archons out and in favor of, you know, like not phasing them out completely, but just having other options? Like look at Layla. Why would they release a new shielder, such a strong shielder in the form of Layla when Zhongli is still in the game, right? So, it's a little weird. We'll see. Like I don't think they're gonna gut Venti. I mean, I don't think they're gonna continue treating Archons like what they did to Venti, but like at the same time, they can't just have one Archon fill the role permanently, right? Because I don't know, like if you compare Layla and Zhongli just wins by default. So it's hard. It's very hard to say how shielders are gonna continue in the game. Okay, that's the video we're gonna record. So let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. Behave yourselves. Wait, let me see. Why does my camera look like it's weird? Let's move ourselves a little bit over here. A little bit. Okay. All right. Let's start the video, chat. Sup, everyone. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to be talking about Zhongli. More specifically, we're going to talk about his kit and how important it is to the game. And in some cases, how some people would like to say it's a detriment to their compositions. And I see where they're coming from, okay? And I'm sure some of you guys who are watching right now already knows what I'm talking about. It's the fact that when some teams require a character such as Zhongli in their team, oftentimes it's at the trade-off of more damage. And when we talk about this, it's that Genshin Impact is a game that is damage-oriented. All right, what I mean by that is you are rewarded by doing more damage, and only more damage. Doesn't matter if you have like a bunch of shields, you have a bunch of damage mitigation, you can take 0 damage, you can be invincible. It wouldn't help you whatsoever when it comes to beating the game. I mean, it would if you have a hyper carry that can dish out the damage. But my point here is that simply by hyper investing into defense in this game will not make your life significantly easier. In fact, if you were to put the same amount of investment into a shielder and the same amount of investment into a hyper carry, you'll find that oftentimes the hyper carry or the DPS character, whatever, is going to yield much more back to you for what you put in. But then what's the problem, right? Like, why do we have Zhongli so high up on most of the tier lists? Why is this character so sought after? And that's where the juice of this video is. Well, welcome to the video. We have the beautiful chat here right above me. Today we're talking about the importance of shielders in Genshin Impact, both for the meta, for the past, present, and also likely the future. And yes, we are going to be able to talk about the future because HoYoverse, in one of the most recent updates, decided to implement a character that is a shielder. A very good shielder. So, do you guys honestly think that if they have no plans for shielding into the future, that they're going to invest the resources to release a character such as, say it with me, Layla, right? Layla is now regarded as the second best shielder in the game after Zhongli. And the only reason, well, not the only reason, one of the many reasons why Zhongli is still able to reign supreme is not because of his shield strength. Believe it or not, people, like, can you believe that? A shielder is evaluated based not just only on the amount that they can shield. Get a load of that, chat. Crazy, right? Why is that? I'll tell you guys why. Because fundamentally, the value a shielder brings to most DPS compositions is not the fact that they can shield damage. Yes, that is important. I'm not saying that's not important, but the biggest reason most people want a shielder on your team is for the anti-interruption that they can bring for your carries. That is more important than people will realize. Now, a lot of people will just chalk them all together. Well, Walrus, isn't anti-interruption the same as shielding? No, they are not. They are not the same thing. Because, for example, if you see on screen right now, I have Raiden Shogun. Bam, Raiden Shogun. Raiden Shogun's burst skill gives her pretty much immunity to interruptions, not immunity to damage. She still takes damage. It's just she doesn't get hit back. She doesn't get interrupted. She doesn't lose her attack chain. Therefore, she's still able to DPS while she takes damage. And if you are, a risky player, you can take damage up to maybe when she's 30% and then choose to switch out, choose to dodge, whatever you want. Or you can have a character like Bennett, right? You stand on Bennett's circle, you run Raiden's burst, and you just heal back all that damage while she herself has anti-interruption. Anti-interruption in this game is so damn important for so many carries, and I think so many people undervalues that. You understand that you want to run a shielder, but you don't understand why you want to run a shielder. Running a shielder is not, and I repeat, not solely for damage mitigation. It's because the shielders can... It's because the shield provides you anti-interruption. Okay? So now that we got that point over and done with, then now we can talk about the damage mitigation. Yes, in most cases, and I urge you guys, if you're running a shielder, you should not be needing to run a healer. You just shouldn't. Now, that doesn't really apply right now in the current Abyss and previous iteration, because you have the Wolves, the Rift Hounds, or whatever you call these guys. They're incredibly annoying. They ignore shields and they cause bleed, right? So that's like one of the things that HoYoverse has implemented into the game to counter shielders. So right now, you might not see the importance. Like, the interruption actually is highlighted much more than the damage mitigation, because you ain't mitigating shit, to be quite frank with you guys, when you run into the what corrosion, right? They call it corrosion. They don't call it bleed. It's when you run into corrosion, the mitigation just goes out the window. It's really just for the interruption. So that's just to hammer home the idea. So now we can talk about the really interesting thing is that then why have shielding, right? Like, why is it so important to have shielding when it's such a simple fix? Oh, like Walrus, if you're saying anti-interruption is so important and Raiden Shogun has it, then why are we running shielders? What is even so important about shielders? Well, the main thing with HoYoverse, right? We got to talk about this from HoYoverse's perspective first, because can you imagine if they just eradicate the necessity for shielders? They just say like, oh, we're just gonna make them a second priority. Not that important. Look at what they've already done to Venti. One Archon, the Nemo Archon, has already been dethroned, and some Canadian Windboy is now sitting atop the Anemo throne. They can't do that to Zhongli, right? They can't gut another Archon's value. Zhongli is actually a very unique shielder in the game. Sure, he has the thickest, bulkiest shield, great drip, and he's an Archon, but at the same time, his shield brings somewhat of an offensive capability, right? There is something cool about Zhongli's shield. He gives all resistance. He applies a debuff to all enemies within the range of his shield for negative 20% all resistance. All resistance, right? For reference, Viridescence only gives, how much was it? 40%, right? 40% resistance to the element that it swirls, and the character that swirls the element has to be on field, and it lasts 10 seconds. 40%, 10 second, whatever you swirl, right? That is Viridescence. Now, for Zhongli, as long as his shield persists, okay? As long as his shield persists, it's a small AoE, 20% all resistances, including physical resistance, and it's as long as his shield persists, and his duration is 20 seconds. It's a longer durability, it's a longer duration than Viridescence, and an all-purposeful one. So it actually really benefits team comps that have multiple sources of elemental damage. For example, this team comp that I have right now, Raiden Shogun, electro damage, right? Nahida, Dendro, and we have Yelan, Hydro. You don't have to have Yelan. You can have Xingqiu here if you want. But my point is, and also I have Geo. I have 4 different elemental typings. That's 20% for each of them, unless I messed up somewhere, right? And it's as long as, boom, the shield persists. That's the beauty of a character such as Zhongli. He is an incredibly universal character in not only damage mitigation, anti-interruption, but also now you tack on that aura debuffing. It applies when he's not on field. It's not like Viridescence. That's the cool thing. So when we have a character such as Zhongli that can bring hybrid utility, I mean, it's not even just hybrid, like this is multi-hybrid, like multi-layered utility from one single ability, that's when we can start to see the value of shielders. However, we have to talk about characters like Layla, Diona, Toma. What is the point of all these other characters? Right? Why do we have these other shielders in the game when Zhongli essentially just trumps everybody? Well, then we have to start looking at characters like Scaramouche. Everything is very meticulously planned, people. Hoyoverse very rarely makes major mistakes. They're human, they make mistakes. Let's not try to color them the shade of a god, but yes, they do make mistakes, but when we talk about crucial mistakes, very, very few times. So when it comes to a character like Scaramouche, look at his first talent, right? His first talent can synergize with the elemental typings, but it doesn't synergize with Geo. So if you're running Zhongli with Scaramouche, and if you want to run Scaramouche fully optimally, you are going to be losing out on the possibility of running Layla with Scaramouche. Okay, so the point here is Scaramouche, because he is supposed to be ran with Fadozan, doesn't really need more enemy anemo resistance reduction. He doesn't really need it. Fadozan provides that. Fadozan also provides him with anemo buffing. Scaramouche really wants to take advantage of these elemental things that he can swirl to get additional stat boosts for himself. He is a damage dealer. He stays on field for quite a chunk of time, especially if you hyper invest into Fadozan. So ideally, you want to run Scaramouche, you want to run a character that has anti-interruption. So that means a shielder. Layla is a great candidate to pair with Scaramouche. She has a shield, she has elemental typing that can help him with, I believe it's a 20% crit rate buff. So it's a great pairing. Not a match made in heaven, but it's a great pairing. It's a great option to have. Like, Hoyoverse has made it so that certain characters don't have resistance interruption buffs, like Scaramouche, like Yoimiya. These characters were designed to be synergized with certain shield-based characters. And why is it so important to continue releasing characters that provide shields, and even unique characters that provide shields to certain characters, is because it makes the money. Isn't it great that every time an Archon rolls back around, that people just, opens up their wallets, takes out their credit cards, and maybe swipe a little bit? Hoyoverse loves that. Why eradicate that from their game, right? So if you guys are ever thinking or worrying, it's like, oh, like, what if they power creep Zhongli? What if they get rid of him? What if he's not as important anymore? What if a character comes up that dethrones him like Kazuha did to Venti? That is a one-time thing. I've said it in the past. Venti got too strong, okay? Venti, if you guys saw Venti in his prime, for those of you who remember Venti in his prime, this game was not fun. It was trivialized beyond repair. It was just ridiculous what Venti did to the meta when, like, from patch 1.0 to like 1.5. Even like, no, I think even 1.6 and 2.0, Venti was like dominant until I think 1 or 2 patches between Kazuha. I think it was 1 or 2 patches after Kazuha release, things changed and they've never went back to the way they were unless they do a Venti rerun. If you guys just want a small glimpse of what Venti was doing to the game, just wait until his rerun. You guys will see. And that's a far cry from what he used to do, okay? Just saying. Howeverse is very careful nowadays to not make Abyss Chambers too favorable to Venti, because that guy just crushes everything. He annihilates everything. It trivializes it. It's too easy. Anyways, when it comes to Zhongli, he doesn't break the game. Neither does Raiden. Neither does Nahida, because Hoyoverse learned from their mistakes. You cannot have one character with a feature or utility or whatever that trivializes content. That's why Zhongli's role in the game will never really be usurped by another character of his kind, because there's like, he's not a problem right now for Hoyoverse. He's a non-issue. He pulls in great sales for his reruns. You know, he has great support. People love this character. He has great usage outside of just 1 or 2 very unique teams. He's actually sitting pretty. This character is like most people's comfort go-to if they start realizing like, oh my goodness, like I'm getting clapped a little too hard. Maybe I should just drop somebody and bring in Zhongli. He's a comfort pick that doesn't break the game. So for people who are ever worried about, you know, like not wanting to invest in the Zhongli because his time in the game is limited, you're safe. At least for the next few years, you're going to be safe. Same thing with people who are scared to invest in the Raiden Shogun. Nahida, like, of course, she's new. Like, she's going to be around for the next 4 or 5 years minimum. So don't be worried. But when it comes to shielders, they're also not going away. If shielders are already starting to get phased out, you know, a character like Layla would have never been introduced into the game in this current day and age, right? Shielders also don't have to be strictly Geo as well. It's just that Geo is the best shielder right now in the form of Zhongli. So yes, they do take up slots in your team. Yes, they do, for the most part, feel like a damage loss. And yes, they are, for the most part, a damage loss. But are you really gonna say, if we drop Zhongli here, put in Kazuha, you're going to be not taking damage? Some people will be confidently saying, yes, I won't take hit. I'm a god. I can dodge that. I've memorized all the enemy's attack pattern. But for most people, you are not a god, right? You are not. Like I said, your hands start getting sweaty knowing that, you know, you still have 2 minutes to go and you have 3 big enemies that you haven't killed yet. You guys get nervous playing this game. Your knees start to get weak when the Wolf Lords start spawning. I know you guys. So let's not kid ourselves in thinking that everybody can clear the game or beat the content without a shielder to deal maximum. Yes, theoretically, you deal more damage. But that's just it. That's just a theory, because you're not going to be playing perfectly. So run your shielders. Invest into your shielders. They're here to stay, and they're definitely something that is irreplaceable in many people's team comps, especially like Scaramouche, Yoimiya players. You need a shielder. Like, every time you dodge, you're losing out on damage. Then you can say like, oh, I'll dodge it. I'll iframe it with my burst skill animation. If you're running Shimenawa Yoimiya, you can't even use your burst to iframe it. That's how crazy this is, right? If you're running Shimenawa Yoimiya, you can't even use your burst to iframe. That's just a bigger DPS loss for you. So listen, people, Don't need to worry, don't need to scrutinize. Shielders are strong, especially if you invested into a Zhongli. You're sitting comfy, alright? There will be future characters that come out that need shielders like Scaramouche. This is a very real reminder that, you know, you're not a god gamer. And it's okay to rely on Daddy Zhongli once in a while. There's no shame. I proclaim my inadequacies when it comes to playing this game. I am a Zhongli meta slave. I wholeheartedly give myself to this character and his shield and his protection and his debuff. It's a great character. No shame in that. Okay? Hope this has cleared up everything for you guys. And going forward, you can continue to enjoy the game, run your DPSs, and just invest into 1 or maybe 2 shielders. Just like keep them around. Because I guarantee you, once in a while, you'll slot them in and they're going to help you clear the run. And until next time, urge you to stay safe. Peace, peace. Bye. Okay, that's pretty much what I got to say for shielders. It's very important. It's very important. It's like, I want to borderline say having a pocket shielder, even if you're not using it now, because having one sitting around is almost as important as having like a Bennett or like a like a Xingqiu. Without a shielder, sometimes your favorite carries just don't have the luxury of even doing damage. That's how bad it can get. So yeah. Glitch variables as they lower your energy, bypass shields. Ew. Oh, you're talking about those lizards, right? Yeah. Like HoYoverse has counters to shields, but their goal is never to kill shielders. They just want to make certain situations very difficult to run shielders. But yeah, I wouldn't say those are like huge detriments. Zhongli also has geo application through his elementals. I know we're talking about geo application, like what the but when you're fighting the Wolf Lord, if you can't one-shot him in one, like before he gets into his phase 2, you're gonna need some sort of geo application. Unless you're just a god gamer, you have a, like, you've saved up and you invested into a C6 DPS, you're one-shotting that boss before he even goes into phase 2. Good for you. Good for you. I don't know why HoYoverse didn't make him the same as Magu Genki. Can you imagine how annoying the Wolf Lord would be if he had immunity once he goes into phase 2? So like once you get him down to 60% health, he has immunity for the next 10 seconds and he goes into phase 2. Thank goodness HoYoverse didn't do that. Like people would be smashing their monitors with that boss. His phase 2 is so damn annoying. Spooky Cat says, I think meta slaves are kind of disconnected with the fact that most people are not going to play perfect. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people, they were like recommending teams that like, oh, don't run Zhongli, run Kazuha. Yeah, buddy, sure. Like, yes, you're getting a DPS boost, but at the same time, you're expecting people to play pixel perfect pretty much. Like, imagine you're running Kazuha and you fucking just get hit. You get hit back like 2 meters. Your character bounces and then they do their superhero pose thing. That's 2 seconds of your DPS gone. And then you run back and you boom, you get hit again. Like, really? You think people are going to be able to play around like all the enemy gimmicks without a shielder? Skill issue. True. It is a skill issue. It is a skill issue. But here's the thing. I can mitigate the fact that I have a skill issue with one character. One character mitigates all my skill issues in the game. Does that not make him incredibly valuable? You're like the rival from Gold and Silver. Like, why do I hear boss music? Scaramouche, when he uses elemental skill and sees a Hilichurl loading up his bow in the distance, like, ah, shit. So yeah. Riona says, I just can't play Scar without a shield. Yeah, and meta players will tell you that, you know, oh, but that's a DPS loss. Sure, buddy. Sure. Raiden would be so dog if she had no resistance interruption. True. That's exactly my point. That was what I was trying to say in the video, right? Some of these characters, they have it built in because they're built different. Same with Ito. Can you guys imagine? I mean, Ito doesn't really give a shit because Ito runs Zhongli in his team. In his best in slot team, Ito has Zhongli. So Ito doesn't care. But Ito even has it. Eula has it. Doesn't Eula have it? Eula does, right? Imagine Eula didn't have interruption resistance. Can you guys imagine how annoying it would be to play Eula without interruption resistance? I remember she does. I remember she does. Here, increases Eula's resistance to interruption. Oh, you guys can't see because you are blocking it. There you go. See right here? Eula's the Lightfall sword increases Eula's resistance to interruption. Imagine if this line wasn't here. And then she's just like Scaramouche. How annoying would that be? You literally would have to run an extra slot just to make sure she doesn't get hit. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But that's how Genshin is. That's the type of game it is. I've come to also realize that when it's a character's elemental skill, they usually don't gain that resistance buff. It only characters' burst skills will give them that resistance buff, right? All the characters that have infusion in their elemental skill don't give resistance buff. So makes sense. But some of those characters really wish they did. Oh my goodness, you're still here? Lynn, my girl, you've been camping out here for 2 years. You've been camping out here for 2 years, girl. You gotta move on with life. Dude, adventurer, what have you been... You're like 10 meters from the gate of Mondstadt. What are you adventuring, Lynn? You're an adventurer. Girl, do you know we have Sumeru? Do you know what Sumeru is? Do you know what Inazuma is, girl? Survive. Girl, please. Crazy. Crazy. When I first came into this world, she was here. And 2 years later, she's still at the gates of Mondstadt. Cooking. She really likes that spot. Yeah. She does. She does, doesn't she? It's crazy to think that 2 years ago, we first met Lynn, and she taught us how to cook in this game. Did she not? Crazy to think it's already been past 2 years since our first time logging into this game. Goodbye, Lynn. I missed. Nostalgia time. Raiden cannot cook. Goodbye, Lynn. Oh, okay. That's gonna be 3 years ongoing. Yeah. Imagine if, like, by year 10, Lynn turns out to be the ultimate boss. Lynn and Timmy. What if Lynn is the second Fatui? There's no way. There's no way. Now we're eating food while fighting bosses. Yeah. Lynn has taught us the importance of cooking. I hope you find happiness, Lynn. All right. That's going to be it. We had a longer stream. But yeah, it was fun talking about this issue. If you guys have anything you guys want to discuss and talk about, just shoot me a DM in Discord, and we can talk about it. Most of the stuff it's inspired, and most of my videos are actually based off of what people write in comment section, Discord, because, like, really, I can only come up with so much random stuff to talk about. Most of the time it's just people asking about stuff. So if you guys see something interesting, if you want me to react to certain things like live, I would love to do that as well. I have no problems doing it. Maybe some content creators don't want me watching their content, but I have no problems doing it. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys Wednesday. How long until the next banners drop? Oh, 9 days, like a little over a week. Wow, almost. Almost. Oh, look, Primo Gems. Oh, 5 free summons. Look at that. I'm ready for, what's his name? Alhaitham. I am ready. Ready and loaded. Till next time, people. Stay safe. Peace, peace. Bye-bye.